Hello friends, welcome you all to the Polity and Economy test of our UPSC Prelims series. This is very important series we are conducting. This is 14th test. First question, with reference to the Parliament of India, consider the following statements. A private member's bill is a bill presented by a member of Parliament who is not elected but only nominated by the President of India. Now first thing, this is wrong definition of private member. Who is private member? It is any member of parliament other than minister, right? Keep this thing in mind, other than minister is a private member. This private member can be from ruling party or he can be from opposing party. He could be an elected member or a nominated member. The only basic thing which defines private member is any member of parliament other than ministers are called as private member and ministers are called as government members. Sir, first statement is wrong. They have asked us which of the statement given above is are correct. So first statement is wrong. So both 1 and 2 is a wrong statement. Recently a private member's bill has been passed in the Parliament of India for the first time in history. No. Almost for last 15 to 16 times we have made a law based on the recommendation of private members. Second statement is also wrong. So correct answer is neither 1 nor 2. Now I will give you a basic information about these private members. Remember first thing, the last basically you have an idea who is private member. It is any member of parliament other than ministers is called as a private member. He can be an elected member, a nominated member, a ruling party's member or an opposition party's member. The last private members bill that was passed by parliament was Supreme Court Enlargement of Criminal Appellate Jurisdiction Bill of 1968. Remember the name of this bill. This was the last bill. I will just write down the name of the bill. This is somewhat very important information. I will write down the name of the bill. Last bill that was passed was the Supreme Court Enlargement of Criminal Appellate Jurisdiction. This was an act of bill of 1968. This bill became an act of August 1970. Means it was passed by parliament on August 1970. Till now only 14 private member bill have been passed since independence. Till now we have passed 14 private members bill since independence, right? Now another important information, the recent bill, the Right of Transgender Persons Bill 2014. It is a private bill. It has been unanimously passed by Rajya Sabha in April 2016. Now here the most important character, it is the first private members bill to get the upper house approval in last 15 years. The transgender bill was introduced in Lok Sabha in August 2016 with slight changes and it is still pending in the parliament. So this is the first question and it is about private members bill. Then question number 2. One of the implications of equality in society is the absence of, it is very straightforward question, it is absence of privileges, right? All these others are wrong options. Question number 3. Which principle among the following was added to the Directive Principles of State Policy by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act to the Constitution? Options are equal pay for equal work for both men and women, participation of workers in the management of industries, right to work, education and public assistance, securing living wage and human conditions of work to the workers. Now remember, this 42nd Amendment Act has added 3 important new directives to DPSP. They were, just I will write down, 39 capital A, 43 capital A and 48 capital A. These are, first one, 39 capital A, it provides for equal justice and free legal aid to economically backward classes. Then 43 capital A, it talks about participation of workers in the management of industries. And 48 capital A, it talks about protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding of forests and wildlife. So these are 3 important directives added by 42nd Amendment Act of 1978. Here remember, 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 is called as mini constitution. This is very famous statement. This 42nd Amendment Act has been called as a mini constitution. Now, what was the objective of 42nd Amendment Act? This article calls for legislation by state to ensure workers' participation in management of the industries. Here correct answer is option B. Then question number 4. Which one of the following statement is correct? Rights are claims of state against the citizen. Rights are privileges which are incorporated in the constitution of a state. Rights are claims of the citizens against the state. Rights are privileges of few citizens against the many. Now here, if you are not very sure about these kinds of question, you have to keep in mind there are always two contradictory statements which you have to search and you will get the answer definitely. Here correct option is answer C. I will just give you a theoretical information about rights which you can use your examination. First I will give you what is definition of rights. Listen very carefully. Rights are legal or moral entitlement or claims of a person over other fellow beings, society and over the government. Here remember, rights prevents the establishment of an authoritarian and despotic rule in the country, as we have seen in fundamental rights. Fundamental right aims at establishment of a government of laws and not of men. It aims at protecting liberties and freedom of the people against the invasion of the state, so it is easily the claim of a citizen or of an individual against the state. Clear? So this is the most basic information. Then question number 5. Local self-government can be best explained as an exercise in federalism, democratic decentralization, administrative delegation and direct democracy. Everyone knows this answer, it is democratic decentralization. Remember, local self-government got constitutional status by 74th and 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. 74th Amendment Act, it talks about urban local government, whereas 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, it talked about rural local government. Rural local government involves Gram Sabha, Gram Panchayat, Panchayat Samiti and finally it is Zilla Parishad. Urban local government involves Nagar Panchayat, Municipal Council, Municipal Corporation. Question number 6. Consider the following statements with reference to the Constitution of India. The directive principles of state policy constitutes limitation upon legislative functions, executive functions. Which of the above statements are correct? See, remember, this particular limitation is being imposed upon fundamental right and not DPSP. I will just give you a very simple and a plain explanation. Remember, what are DPSP? Directive principles of state policy are instructions issued to legislature and authorities, executive authorities to perform their day-to-day administration in the country. This is the reason why DPSPs are also called as constitutional instruction or instructions given to various authorities. Now, first important thing, DPSPs are not justiciable, but they are fundamental in governance of the country, and it is the duty of the state to apply these principles in making laws. It is not the directive principles but the fundamental rights which constitute limitation upon legislative and executive function. DPSP Act as only guides these functions, not restrict them. This is the reason why one important feature of fundamental right, most of the fundamental rights are used against arbitrary action of the state. Then question number 7. This is a typical difficult question. Many of you may not be able to solve this question, no need to worry. With reference to the Prohibition of Benami Property Transaction Act of 1988, consider the following statements. A property transaction is not treated as Benami transaction if the owner of the property is not aware about the transaction. Properties held Benami are liable to be confiscation by the government. Now, out of these two statements, you are not very clear about first, but you are very clear about second. So, which of the above statement given above is are correct? So, second is correct statement. If it is correct, this first option is gone. Then 1 and 3, it is also gone. Now, we have to check just only 2 and 3. The act provides for 3 authorities for investigation but does not provide for any appellate mechanism. It won't happen. It is always there that there is a mechanism for, there are no mechanism for appellate authority. So here remember correct option is 2 only. I will just read out few important information about Prohibition of Benami Property Transaction Act. There is appellate mechanism provided for it. So first and third statement is wrong. Listen very carefully. The PBPT Act means Prohibition of Benami Property Transaction Act of 1988. It defines Benami transaction as prohibits them from further, provides that the violation of PBPT Act is punishable with fine and imprisonment. The PBPT Act prohibits recovery of the property held Benami from Benamidar by the real owner, but on the basis of the principle that ignorance of law cannot be an excuse for violation of law. Statement 1 is wrong. Properties held Benami are liable for confiscation by government without payment of confiscation. It is true. An appellate mechanism has been provided under the PBPT Act in the form of adjudicating authority, and appellate tribunal is constituted by central government for hearing complaints and grievances regarding Prohibition of Benami Property Transaction Act. Then question number 8. Which of the following statements are true of the fundamental duties of an Indian citizen? A legislative process has been provided to enforce these duties. They are correlative to legal duties. Both statements are wrong, neither 1 nor 2. Just listen very important things about fundamental duties. First thing, fundamental duties were not part of original constitution. They were added on the recommendation of Swaran Singh Committee by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976, based on recommendation of Swaran Singh Committee. Original constitution had just only 10 duties. Then 11th fundamental duty was added by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002. Listen few things very carefully. The fundamental duties are defined as the moral obligation of all the citizens to help promote a spirit of patriotism and to uphold the unity of India. Fundamental duties are just like directive principles of state policy, and they are non-enforceable and non-justiciable in character. This means that no citizen can be punished by a court for violation of a fundamental duty. The government cannot take legal action against someone if any citizen fails to perform any one of these duties, as they are not enforceable in any court of law. However, the fundamental duties may be enforceable by law if Parliament provides provision for that. For example, an important law according to Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act of 1971, it is punishable offence to show disrespect to the Constitution, to the national flag and to the national anthem. So none of the statement above are correct. Then question number 9. Which one of the following objectives is not embodied in the preamble to the Constitution of India? Liberty of thought, economic liberty, liberty of expression, liberty of belief. A very straightforward question. If you go through the third line of preamble, you will realize third line of preamble talks about liberty of thought, liberty of expression, liberty of belief, liberty of faith and liberty of worship. Clear? So this B option is wrong. Last question. Democracy's superior virtue lies in the fact that it calls into activity the intelligence and character of ordinary men and women. The method for strengthening executive leadership? No, democracy do not talk about executive leadership. It talks about ordinary men and women. A superior individual? No, it do not talk about superior individual. It talks about ordinary men and women. A ban on dedicated party worker? It has nothing to do with party worker. It has everything to do with ordinary men and women. So correct option is A. Though you may not know this question, you can come to the answer very clearly in this manner. So thank you very much. Have a good day. We'll meet tomorrow with new set of questions. Thank you. Have a good day.